The world is a stage, and most men are desperate actors, playing a part they never wrote for an audience that will forget their name by morning. They dance for applause, beg for validation, and bleed their life force into the empty pursuit of being seen. But in the shadows, beyond the glare of the spotlight, exists a different kind of man. One who understands that the only judgment that matters is his own. He moves with a purpose that requires no external engine, fueled by an inner fire that the world did not light and therefore cannot extinguish. This is the reality we dissect here at the Sigma Male community. We are not here to offer you fleeting motivation or hollow praise. We are here to hand you the keys to the inner citadel, to reinforce the unshakable truth that your worth is not a negotiation. Today we explore the core doctrine of the self-reliant mind, the profound, strategic and power-infused reasons why a Sigma male has zero interest in proving himself to anyone. This isn't just a mindset, it is a fundamental law of power, efficiency and freedom. 1. Energy economics, the ultimate resource war. Your life force, your focus, your mental and emotional energy, this is the most valuable, non-renewable currency you will ever possess. Every moment you spend trying to justify your existence, explain your choices, or win over a critic, you are spending this priceless capital on a worthless investment. The Sigma male understands this with chilling clarity. He views his focus as a nation views its gold reserves, a strategic asset to be guarded with supreme vigilance, deployed with precision, and never, ever wasted on those who come begging for a handout of his attention. He instinctively runs a cost-benefit analysis on every potential interaction. Is this debate a path to growth, or an ego-driven black hole? Is this plea for validation an opportunity for connection, or a parasitic drain on his sovereign resources? While others are running themselves into energetic bankruptcy in the marathon of social approval, the Sigma is in his own lane, compounding the interest on his focus. This relentless conservation of energy isn't about being antisocial, it's about being pro-mission. The result of this ruthless energy audit is an empire built in silence. It is the mastery of a skill while others were mastering small talk. It is the forging of a resilient mind while others were fracturing their psyche trying to please a crowd. Think of it as the difference between a scattered floodlight and a focused laser. The floodlight illuminates everything superficially, trying to gain the approval of the entire landscape, but has no power to cut or create. The laser, concentrating all its energy on a single point, can cut through steel. The Sigma chooses to be the laser. His objective is not to be liked but to be effective. His power is not in the breadth of his social circle, but in the depth of his impact on the things he chooses to engage with. This is the ultimate resource war, and the first battle is won by refusing to fight on the enemy's terms, the enemy being the endless, draining demand for proof. 2. Legacy over applause, building cathedrals in the dark. Applause is a fleeting echo, a vapor that disappears the moment the hands stop clapping. A legacy is a cathedral built of stone, standing for centuries against the storm. The man who chases applause is a street performer, dazzling a temporary crowd for a few coins of validation. The man who builds a legacy is the master architect, drafting blueprints in solitude, laying foundations in the dark, knowing that the true unveiling of his work may not happen in his lifetime. The Sigma male is this architect. He is playing an infinite game, not a finite one. He understands that a viral moment of recognition is a sugar high, destined to crash, while the patient construction of value, character, and tangible impact is the very bedrock of an immortal existence. He pours his energy into the concrete of his work, his principles, and his personal evolution, not into the fireworks of public performance. This is why he remains unbothered by a lack of immediate recognition. He doesn't need his name on a plaque that will rust or a trophy that will gather dust. His ambition is far greater. He seeks to leave his fingerprint on the future, to create a ripple that continues to expand long after he is gone. This could be in the form of a business that outlives him, a body of knowledge that informs generations, or children raised with an unbreakable moral compass. While the validation chaser is obsessed with how his story is being told right now, the Sigma is obsessed with writing a story that will be worth telling 100 years from now. He derives his satisfaction not from the roar of the crowd, but from the quiet hum of progress, the solid feel of a well-laid stone in the cathedral of his life's work. 3. The silent leadership doctrine. Forget the image of the leader as the man with the loudest voice, standing on a soapbox, rallying the troops with charismatic speeches. That is one form of influence, but it is often brittle and dependent on constant performance. Sigma leadership is a different force entirely. It is not a broadcast, it is a magnetic field. It operates not through demands but through a gravitational pull. The Sigma leads by being the standard. He doesn't need to preach discipline. His own unwavering focus becomes a silent sermon. He doesn't need to demand integrity. His actions are a testament to an incorruptible code. His power is not in what he says, but in the unnerving consistency between his words and his deeds. This creates a field of influence that draws capable, self-respecting individuals to him, not as fawning followers, but as willing collaborators. While an alpha male might seek to control the pack by being the loudest wolf, the Sigma influences the ecosystem by being the silent mountain. The mountain doesn't need to announce its presence. Its sheer existence shapes the landscape, directs the flow of rivers, and provides shelter from the storm. People look to the Sigma not because he begs for their attention, but because in a world of chaotic noise, his stability is a source of profound, unspoken guidance. His leadership is effortless because it is not a strategy, it is a byproduct of his self-mastery. His power is the whisper that shatters the glass ceilings of conventional authority, proving that true influence is not taken by force, but earned through the quiet, relentless demonstration of superior character. For self-worth, your unhackable fortress. Imagine your sense of self-worth is your personal computer's operating system. External validation is malware. The moment you allow it into your system, it begins to corrupt your core programming. Your processing speed slows down, you become vulnerable to bugs from other people's opinions, and eventually, your entire system can be hijacked by a virus of self-doubt. The Sigma male treats his self-worth as a closed-source, off-grid, and heavily encrypted fortress. He codes his value in a private language, one based on his own principles, his adherence to his own code, and his progress on his own chosen path. There is no external login portal. There is no forgot my password link that leads to asking someone else if he is good enough. His value is a sovereign nation, and he is the sole guardian of its borders. This internal validation system is unhackable because it refuses to connect to the public network of opinions, likes, and social hierarchies. It doesn't run on the algorithm of a social media feed. It runs on the ironclad algorithm of his own integrity. This is the essence of Stoic strength. Understanding that your ruling faculty, your core self, is the only thing truly under your control. By placing his worth entirely within this fortress, the Sigma becomes immune to the emotional manipulation that plagues the validation seeker. Insults become irrelevant noise. Praise becomes pleasant but unnecessary data. His stability is not dependent on the weather of public opinion, but on the unshakable foundation of his own self-knowledge. He doesn't need a poll to tell him his value. He has already audited the assets himself. 5. The Dependency Trap. Seeking approval is the act of willingly placing a leash around your own neck and handing the other end to the world. It is signing a contract with emotional vampires, agreeing to let them bleed you of your energy, autonomy, and peace in exchange for occasional sips of their false, conditional validation. The Sigma male recognizes this contract for what it is, a pact of servitude, and he burns it without a second thought. He understands a fundamental truth that escapes most. The moment you need applause to feel alive, you have handed the remote control of your soul to loan sharks who will always raise the interest rate. Your peace becomes a commodity to be bought and sold by others. Your confidence becomes a fragile thing held hostage by the whims of spectators. Freedom, for the Sigma, is not an act of outward rebellion. It is an act of internal resource management. It is owning your own oxygen supply. The man who needs to prove himself is constantly gasping for air, looking to others to inflate his lungs. The Sigma has learned to breathe from his own diaphragm, to generate his own internal atmosphere. This independence is terrifying to those who rely on controlling others. They cannot fathom a man who does not need their approval, because their own power is derived from the dependency of others. By refusing to enter this trap, the Sigma is not just preserving his energy. He is making the ultimate declaration of personal sovereignty. He is stating, through his actions, I am the source of my own power, and there is no more threatening or liberating statement a man can make. Staring at this screen. Feeling the grind of proving, performing, pandering. Stop. This channel isn't a fan club, it's an extraction point. Whether you're a hardened Sigma or a wolf still caged, hear this. The world wants you hungry for its crumbs. Starve it. What comes next isn't theory, it's your toolkit. Wield it. 6. Authenticity's iron law. Authenticity is not a performance. The moment you have to try to prove you are authentic, you have already failed. It is like lighting a match to prove that darkness exists. The very act of proving it obliterates the thing you are trying to defend. The Sigma male understands this paradox instinctively. He does not perform realness, he simply is. His truth is not a product to be marketed, a position to be explained, or an asset to be put up for sale. It is the unchangeable core of his being. It radiates from him, not as a conscious broadcast, but as a natural state of existence. It is in the way he carries himself, the directness of his gaze, the economy of his words. He is not concerned with appearing authentic, only with being true to his own internal compass. This is where the poseur is fatally exposed. The poseur is obsessed with the aesthetics of authenticity. He curates his image, polishes his stories, and carefully crafts a persona designed to signal realness to the world. He begs for the spotlight to validate his costume. The Sigma, in contrast, is the dark matter of the social universe, unseen, unshowy, yet fundamentally holding entire galaxies of value together. His authenticity is not a brand, it is his nature. He understands that genuine character requires no defense. A lion does not need to roar to prove it is a predator. A mountain does not need to shake to prove it is solid. And a man of substance does not need to speak to prove he is real. 7. Insecurity's telltale stench. The desperate, clawing need to prove yourself is the unmistakable fingerprint of deep-seated insecurity. It is a loud, public confession that, in the quiet chambers of your own mind, you doubt your own value. It is the telltale stench of a man who is terrified that if he stops performing, he will be exposed as an imposter. The Sigma male has a keen sense of smell for this fear, both in others and, more importantly, in himself. He knows that the path to true confidence is not to mask your inadequacies with bravado, but to face them, understand them, and integrate them. He is not afraid of his flaws. He sees them as topography. They are data points on the map of himself, features to be navigated, not wounds to be hidden in shame. Instead of wasting energy covering up a perceived weakness, the Sigma male either incinerates it in the furnace of self-discipline or accepts it with the rational calm of a stoic. If it can be improved, he improves it, not for an audience but for himself. If it is an unchangeable fact of his existence, he accepts it and refuses to let it drain his power. This is the ultimate act of self-possession. It is looking at your own reflection with all its cracks and imperfections and saying, "This is the material I have to work with. Now let's build." The man who has done this has no need to prove his strength, because he is no longer afraid of his weakness. He has mapped his own territory and he owns every square inch of it. 8. The futility of validation, chasing ghosts. The quest for universal validation is a rigged game, a hamster wheel in a cage of futility. Even if you manage the impossible and convince 99% of the people around you of your worth, your intelligence, or your strength, the dissenting voice of the remaining 1% will echo louder than all the praise. The human mind is wired to focus on the threat, the dissent, the single point of negativity. The Sigma male looks at this psychological trap and laughs at its absurd design. He refuses to play a game where the victory condition is impossible. He understands that seeking validation is like trying to drink from a mirage in the desert. The closer you get, the further it recedes, and you will die of thirst in the chase. This is why he consciously redirects his energy away from the mirage and toward the oases he controls. These oases are his personal growth, the quality of his work, the depth of his knowledge, and the silent satisfaction of a day lived in accordance with his own code. He understands that external opinions are ghosts, intangible, ever-shifting, and powerless unless you grant them power over you. Why chase ghosts when you can build a fortress? Why beg for a sip from a mirage when you can dig your own well? This pragmatic refusal to engage in a futile pursuit is not born of cynicism, but of supreme rationality. It is the strategic allocation of a warrior's resources to battles that can actually be won. 9. Definition by proxy equals identity theft. When you hand another person the pen to write your story, you are not practicing humility, you are committing an act of voluntary identity theft. You are allowing them to define your character, to set your boundaries, and to author your narrative. The Sigma male guards the pen of his life with his very soul. He is the sole author, director, and protagonist of his own story. The scripts offered by society, The expectations of a good employee, the mold of a perfect partner, the checklist for a successful man. He views these as beta scripts for background extras. They are generic templates for those who lack the courage to write their own lines. The Sigma's narrative is written not in ink, but in blood, sweat, and decisive action. This commitment to self-authorship is why he is so resistant to labels and expectations. He is not trying to be a Sigma male or any other archetype. He is simply being himself, and the world can apply whatever label it wants. It doesn't matter because the label is an external tag on a product he never put up for sale. He defines himself through his actions, his choices, and his unwavering adherence to his internal value system. To let someone else's opinion shape his identity would be the ultimate surrender, a betrayal of the very essence of his independent spirit. He knows that the man who is defined by Proxy is a man who has already been conquered. 10 times Extinction event. Every minute you spend justifying yourself is a minute you can never get back. It is a small extinction event in the timeline of your life. While energy is a renewable resource to some extent, time is the ultimate finite asset. It cannot be earned, bought, or negotiated with. It can only be spent. The Sigma male has a profound, almost visceral understanding of this truth. The act of proving himself to others is not just draining, it is an unforgivable theft of his most precious commodity. He sees other men trapped in a time loop, a Groundhog Day of exhaustion, reliving the same arguments, seeking the same approval, and ending each day with nothing to show for it but a depleted clock. He actively seeks the escape hatch from this loop. This perspective transforms his entire approach to life. He sees every hour as a block of potential, a chance to compound a legacy. While another man is arguing in the comment section to prove a point to a stranger, the Sigma is using that same hour to read a book that will change his perspective, to practice a skill that will double his income, or to simply sit in silence and fortify his mind. He is not just living his life, he is investing his time. He knows that a single hour of deep, focused work is worth more than a century of seeking applause. This is not time management, it is time reverence. It is the understanding that the clock is ticking toward an inevitable end, and he has no time to waste on the trivial court of public opinion. 11. Unspoken influence, the ripple in silence. True power does not need to announce itself. The most profound influence is often unspoken. The Sigma male embodies this principle. He moves worlds without ever uttering a plea, a demand, or a boast. His actions are seismic charges, planted deep beneath the surface of the ordinary. They detonate silently, sending tectonic shifts through the subconscious of those who are paying attention. There is no lobbying for his position, no marketing campaign for his ideas, no desperate siren wail for recognition. There is only the quiet, undeniable evidence of his competence, his integrity, and his results. This creates a ripple in silence, a form of influence that is both more powerful and more enduring than any overt attempt to persuade. Think of it this way, the siren is loud, alarming, and designed to force a reaction. But once it passes, it is forgotten. The earthquake, however, is a deep, fundamental shift. It is not loud in the same way, but it permanently alters the terrain. The Sigma chooses to be the earthquake, not the siren. His unwavering commitment to his path, his quiet mastery of his craft, his refusal to be swayed by the trivial. These actions challenge the assumptions of everyone around him. They force others to question their own reliance on validation and their own definitions of strength. He becomes a living question, and that is a far more powerful thing to be than a man with all the answers. He doesn't change minds by arguing. He shatters paradigms by simply existing. So we return to the core of the matter. The refusal to prove oneself is not an act of arrogance or apathy. It is the ultimate strategic decision. It is the conservation of energy, the reverence of time, the fortification of the self, and the construction of a legacy that will outlast any fleeting moment of applause. It is the understanding that the game of external validation is designed for you to lose. The only winning move is not to play. The path of the Sigma, the path of the self-reliant man, is to turn inward, not to hide from the world, but to build a world within himself so strong that it reshapes the world around him. Look inward now. Audit your own energy. Where are you bleeding your power? Where are you seeking validation you do not need? The teachings on this channel, Sigma Male Community, are not just information, they are a forge. A place to burn away the dependencies and temper the steel of your own sovereign mind. If this transmission resonated with the architect within you, acknowledge it. Like this video to signal your understanding. Comment with your own insights on this philosophy, for the strength of the wolf is the pack, and the strength of the pack is the wolf. Share this with another man who is building his own cathedral in the dark. And if you have not already made the commitment, subscribe to this channel and most importantly, activate the notification bell. You will not want to miss a single transmission from this outpost for sovereign minds. Stay focused. Stay independent. Build your legacy.